tonight after the manhunt. Relief, mourning, and still many questions.
You know, it's just inconceivable.
The family of one of the murder suspects speaks to CBC News while the community tries to move on. We're in the ground in BC and Manitoba.
The UN targets what we grow, eat, and throw out.
We need to radically change our food system.
The very personal challenge in a new climate change report. Are you up for it?
And
have you ever heard of anything like this?
Never.
their credit card debt is forgiven.
I was amazed.
One bank's unusual parting gift for its customers. This is The National. Answers. No matter what your connection is to the stories of Cam McLeod and Briar Schmigelski, or those of the three people who were murdered, answers are what many are looking for tonight. Some, like the cause of death, will hopefully come from the autopsies now underway on the two bodies recovered yesterday. But with those deaths and with the RCMP staying tight-lipped about most of the details, other answers like why the two men ran, the motives for the murders, those answers may never come. As Tanya Fletcher tells us, among those left wondering are the fugitives' families.
You have this vision that they're going to walk out of the bush and that's going to be that, but that's not the case.
John McNabb is Briar Schmigelski's great uncle. He last saw him the day before he and Cam McLeod left last month, heading, they said, to Whitehorse.
We've got a young person that was basically going out to find his fortune and to find his way of life.
What police say happened next has left this family in a state of disbelief. McNabb described Schmigelski as being very different from the accused killer and wanted fugitive Canadians know.
If you met these two fellows, you know, they're not people that you would be afraid of, that they just didn't have that presence.
Most puzzling of all is why. Why, as police allege, did these two young men kill Lucas Fowler, China Dees, and Leonard Dick? McNabb says the pair had left with a fair amount of cash.
They would typically be the kind of people that would be helping somebody instead of hurting somebody. Trying to get to the bottom of what happened is the family's wish, and anything that the family can do with regards to helping that investigation will be done.
The family has grown frustrated with the lack of information coming from police. They say they've had to rely on reports from the media for details about the investigation.
It certainly would have been nice from the family's point of view to have some understanding of why they linked Briar and Cam to these events.
They're left deeply unsettled, not knowing how or when the pair died.
What happened, how it happened, anything else. The RCMP have not disclosed anything to us.
Recognizing some of those answers may never come, they're leaning on memories of a better time.
To us, you know, that's what we're going to remember is that kind, polite young guy that you know, that was 6 feet tall and looking to find his way.
How that way led to this point, they may never know, and in that, they're not alone.
Our hearts and prayers go out to the other families.
Tanya Fletcher, CBC News, Port Alberni, BC.
And for the people who live around Gillam, today marks the start of getting back to normal. But as Angela Johnson explains, being at the center of that manhunt may have some lasting effects.
It's one of Denby Fair's favorite places to fish, and pickerel is his catch of choice from the Nelson River. But being along the shoreline of a river that has drawn so much attention is bringing up questions and confusion about the end of a weeks-long manhunt.
I don't understand how they were not found for so long. Like, I don't know if they were dead for a lot longer than we thought, because we had helicopters searching and for multiple days, and they could not find them.
While RCMP believe they've found the suspects' bodies, they're still searching the scene where they were discovered, about 8 kilometers from where the burned-out SUV linked to the pair was found.
Our forensic identification specialists are on scene. They are going to process the scene of where these bodies were located.
Although scenes of a large-scale manhunt have dwindled, for people living in and around Gillam, it will likely take longer for feelings of unease to do the same.
If you see a stranger in town who's, you know,
looking kind of lost or needing a ride, or it was never crossed your mind to be leery of approaching somebody to offer your help. And I think we may obviously are going to be a little bit more leery.
It didn't feel right to see so much people in town being afraid like that.
Some are working to boost the community's resilience. Dakota Massen painted this mural at a hangout spot near Gillam during the search.
It started with this eyeball here, these shades of pink.
Trying to demonstrate that it was okay for people to go outside despite their fears. People have been stopping by, and he hopes it'll keep helping in the future.
I feel like if something like that does come over again, I feel like people will look back at this and kind of take some inspiration from that, saying we shouldn't let this fear take over our community or our lives, and we should fight to take that back,
There is a feeling that this area will bounce back, but there are still lingering questions about why the suspects might have chosen to come to this area. That answer, like so many others, might be lost forever. Angela Johnston, CBC News, Gillam, Manitoba.
You've heard the warnings about climate change before, but today, a challenge of sorts from the United Nations. If we want to save our planet, we've got to change what we eat and how we produce it fast.
A move to more balanced diets could help us adapt to and limit climate change.
So here's the lowdown from the UN's International Panel on Climate Change. The way humans produce food now, a climate disaster, destroying the land. And we are everywhere. They say humans use about 3/4 of all the ice-free surfaces in the world, and that agriculture accounts for 70% of all freshwater use.
We have a very stark choice. We either change our food system to manage all the coming challenges, or we suffer the consequences, which will be periods of great food insecurity.
So what to do? Well, the report says reduce deforestation, reduce food waste, but here's the part that may really hit home for you. Reduce the amount of meat and dairy you eat. The reason? Raising animals for food creates far more emissions than you might think. According to one Japanese study, the production of one hamburger creates as much greenhouse gas as driving a car for 320 kilometers. So the UN is calling on food producers and consumers to make changes. But as Alison Northcott reports, some Canadian farmers already have.
Now, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to keep our soil quality in the best shape we can.
Saskatchewan farmer John Bennett practices what's called zero-till farming.
If we till ground too much, we turn it into flour, and it has no ability to resist water erosion or soil erosion.
He says the process helps protect his land and livelihood and has another benefit too.
We do a tremendous job in terms of atmospheric integrity by capturing CO2 from the atmosphere and storing it in our soils.
That's one measure the UN report suggests to help reduce the impact food production has on the planet.
Have to run a balance between, shall we say, environmental stewardship and economic production, or food production.
Werner Kurtz is one of the report's lead authors. He says Canada has one of the highest per capita emissions rates in the world, but there are many things Canadians can do.
Whether that is through improved sustainable land management, improved sustainable forest management, or the consumption of food, reduction of food waste, changes in diets, more plant-based, more grain-based, and less high emissions meat protein based. All of these activities influence the emissions from our behavior.
The report says cutting meat consumption eases pressure on land and water resources, but the Canadian Cattlemen's Association says it is a leader in sustainable beef production and says cutting down on meat is not the solution.
In Canada, we're one of the most efficient producers of beef cattle, which is why we have one of the lowest footprints in the world.
Environmental groups say Canada should heed the report's warnings about land use.
We cannot take these natural ecosystems for granted. We have to work hard to protect them because they will be the systems that both help us adapt to some of the impacts of climate change.
She hopes the report will lead to more commitments from world leaders meeting at a UN climate summit next month. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
And we're going to go in depth on this story a little later in the program as we explore whether individuals like you and me actually have agency here, and if so, where our efforts are best spent. That's in about 20 minutes' time. Now, a state of agricultural disaster has been declared in a community northwest of Edmonton. The reason? Rain, too much of it. And as Rafi Boudjikanian shows us, farmers in Lac Ste. Anne County are starting to get desperate.
That's dead.
Dennis Potter is not counting on a good crop this year.
We're 3 weeks from harvest, and I don't think we'll get in if it continues. We won't get in it if it continues.
After a month of almost non-stop rain, about a third of his 120 acres of oat crops is a write-off.
I've farmed for 60 years and I've never seen this.
It's much the same situation all around Lac Ste. Anne County. Local officials are warning of increasing desperation among farmers and ranchers.
We have tons of acres that are underwater and crops are drowning. We're seeing upwards of 80% mortality in some of these fields from what we viewed.
It's the second year in a row they've declared a state of agricultural disaster. Last year, an early snowfall ruined the harvest. Many farmers finished that year with lower yields of animal feed and were counting on stocking up this season. That's not happening.
We are hoping that will open up some funding and some assistance.
Provincial officials are certainly aware it's not an ideal crop season. A report at the end of last month showed the region around Lac Ste. Anne was 11% behind its 5-year average for crop yields. After the rainfall comes the flight. This soil and crop expert captures aerial pictures, helping landowners map out their properties to see how much is usable.
The gray areas are basically 100% loss.
He says this year is bad, but he says farmers are used to dealing with unpredictable weather.
It's part and parcel of farming. You'll never have a farmer say, there's absolutely perfect conditions, or it's a little too dry or it's a little too wet.
Dennis Potter is watching the skies too.
You just sit back and pray for good weather to get the rest of it.
Hoping the province will come through with help if nature does not. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Lac Ste. Anne County, Alberta.
David McNaughton is arguably Canada's most influential diplomat on the world stage as this country's ambassador to Washington. Well, today announced he's stepping down. It's no secret on Parliament Hill that McNaughton is also a key advisor to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Katie Simpson has more on what today's announcement means just 10 weeks before the next election.
After 3 years in Canada's most important diplomatic role, David McNaughton is stepping into private life.
I've never done anything in my life that has been as difficult as this. And part of that is just realizing what the stakes are.
McNaughton's tenure has been incredibly turbulent, having to navigate Canada's relationship with an increasingly erratic ally. He and the Foreign Affairs Minister led Canada's NAFTA renegotiating team, convincing Canadian politicians of all stripes to speak with a united voice in the hopes of saving the deal.
He's been the architect, really the quarterback for the whole Team Canada approach that the Trudeau government took. He's a guy who's playing 3-level chess most of the time, and so his departure is really a loss.
As ambassador, he worked with all parties, but make no mistake, McNaughton has deep Liberal roots.
You've got to give Canadians a reason that the Liberal Party wants to win the next election.
As a longtime Liberal advisor, he's one of the few people Justin Trudeau trusts. During the SNC-Lavalin affair, he flew to Ottawa to offer advice and to steady the Prime Minister's office. He's also close with Chief of Staff Katie Telford and former Principal Secretary Gerald Butts. The three worked together in Ontario for Liberal Premier Dalton McGuinty before teaming up on Trudeau's election bid in 2015.
I leave here with some pride in what we have accomplished. Clearly, there are still challenges in front of us.
McNaughton's departure is not a surprise, since he openly spoke about missing his family in Toronto. But it comes before the new NAFTA has been ratified. That's now Kirsten Hillman's problem. The deputy ambassador will take on McNaughton's role until a new appointment is made.
She is definitely not the B team. There's nobody better than her to take this negotiation the next step.
McNaughton insists he's not formally joining Trudeau's re-election campaign team. But now that he's coming home from Washington, there's nothing holding him back from getting as involved as he likes. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
And as we gear up to the October 21st Election Day, we want to tell you about a new podcast from CBC News and CBC Podcasts. Our co-hosts Rosemary Barton and Elamine Abdel Mahmoud of BuzzFeed News teaming up to explore the stories and issues affecting voters from two unique perspectives. A smart weekly conversation on Canadian politics while having a little bit of fun. Not hard to imagine. Party Lines launches the first week of September. Here's some of the other stories we're following tonight on The National. An Ontario farmer will not be going to jail for the death of his 4-year-old son. The young boy fell from the front bucket of a farm vehicle last August and died of head injuries. The father was found guilty of criminal negligence but not sentenced to jail.
I mean, he's serving a life sentence of grief and remorse. It'll never leave him. It'll never leave his family. I can't imagine what he must be going through emotionally.
It's believed to be the only case in Canada where a child's accidental death on a farm led to a criminal charge.
Each day, hundreds of pounds of cannabis were being supplied to the illicit market.
We're following two major drug busts in Ontario. One cracked down on an organized crime ring using Health Canada licenses to grow cannabis and sell it illegally even to the United States. They were also manufacturing large amounts of synthetic drugs. The second bust involved the biggest ever seizure of fentanyl for York Regional Police, more than 6 kilos. That's in addition to cocaine, methamphetamine, and guns. The seizure amounts to $45 million worth of illegal drugs. 50 people have been
The
charged.
criminal associated.
And Canada has become the latest country to issue a travel advisory over the ongoing protests in Hong Kong. Protests that have at times turned violent and brought the city to a standstill. People have been taking to the streets for nearly 2 months, angry over a controversial extradition bill. Canadian travelers are now being told to exercise a high degree of caution. About 300,000 Canadians currently live in Hong Kong.
We have a CBC News exclusive for you tonight. Military leaders from Canada and the U.S. have come to an agreement to retool NORAD. That's the North American air defense program that we've been a part of since the Cold War. The proposal still needs approval from Ottawa and Washington, but Murray Brewster has some of the details.
It's becoming an increasingly uncertain world. North Korea just this week testing new intermediate-range missiles. And then there are the old-fashioned concerns. Just today, 2 Canadian CF-18s and 2 American F-22s intercepted 2 Russian bombers off Alaska. And keeping tabs on all of this, NORAD, a 6-decade-old air defense alliance between Canada and the U.S. that's showing its age.
NORAD of the future has to be able to look at a wider spectrum of threats.
Modernizing NORAD was top of the agenda in the first meeting between the Prime Minister and the U.S. President back in 2017. Now, a step forward. Defense sources in Ottawa tell CBC News Canadian and U.S. military leaders have an agreement on what the new NORAD should look like. Proposals that are now working their way up to both governments.
We have established the operational requirement, and that's being worked now by a binational group, a group of Canadians and Americans.
Those requirements could mean new satellites, radar stations, drones, cyber and missile defenses. All of that is extraordinarily expensive, $11 billion by some estimates. 40% of that bill belongs to Canada. Most of that was not costed in the Liberal government's defense plan.
And then there's the political dimension. After the ordeal of renegotiating NAFTA, some question whether Canada wants to negotiate the finer points of NORAD with Donald Trump in the White House.
It's an unfair burden on the United States.
There are some experts, however, that say it's not in Donald Trump's political interest to start flipping over tables on this subject. And the bigger political consideration may be in this country with the Indigenous community, which was ignored in the past when NORAD built bases and radar stations.
You go back to the 50s, there was really no Indigenous input. The military decided, the governments agreed, and then it went on.
At the top of Indigenous concerns will likely be the environment and the military's footprint in the north. The last time NORAD decommissioned radar sites, it took 21 years to clean up and cost over $500 million. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.
Still ahead, a UN report on climate change warns the world has to change its eating habits. We have some strategies to consider.
Also, the people of Nain, Labrador are used to living in isolation, but this past week has definitely put them to the test.
And at long last, some good news about credit card debt.
It's probably up there with winning the lottery or discovering an inheritance from a rich billionaire uncle you didn't know you had.
Why a U.S. bank is letting its Canadian customers off the hook. That's next. Seeing credit card bills can be a source of stress, but not for a lucky few Canadians. Their outstanding balances have vanished, wiped out by their American credit card provider. As Castrucci tells us, the move has thrilled their customers.
Woo! Good jump.
These days, a morning game of fetch with Chewy has been extra fun for Chewy's owner. Up until a few days ago, Paul Adamson was carrying a debt of more than $1,600 on one of his credit cards. Then last week, while trying to make a payment on his card, he was told the debt was gone. He no longer owes anything. A confirmation letter convinced him this wasn't some scam.
They just said Chase is now leaving Canada and it's in our best interest to forgive this debt. Thank you and goodbye. And that was it.
Chase Bank is a U.S.-based financial institution that has taken the unorthodox step of forgiving all outstanding debt by users of its two Canadian credit cards, Amazon and Marriott Rewards. Adamson is among a group of lucky Canadians who've had their debt wiped clean.
And then there it is. Balance forgiveness right there.
In a statement to the CBC, a bank spokesperson says Chase made the decision to exit the Canadian credit card market. A further business decision has been made to forgive all outstanding balances in order to complete the exit.
As a debt relief or any kind of personal finance strategy, it's probably up there with winning the lottery or discovering an inheritance from a rich billionaire uncle you didn't know you had.
Luke Sheehan works for a company offering advice on financial rates for mortgages and credit cards. He says what Chase has done is extremely rare.
We would expect the banks, as banks are very good at doing, to chase very hard to get every last dollar they possibly could. So the very abrupt exit, I think, is something that has puzzled a great deal of people.
Indeed, Chase Bank could have sold its outstanding debt to a third-party debt collector. Instead, this debt forgiveness plan has turned into a PR sensation for the company.
Come here, bud. Chewy, come.
Adamson knows he's caught a lucky break. He was saving for a house, and that's just become a little easier. Castrucci, CBC News, Toronto.
Good boy.
What a story. Okay, still ahead on tonight's National, the birth of an iconic photograph. 50 years ago today, the Beatles went for a little walk.
And some practical solutions to cutting your carbon footprint, right down to that sandwich.
The sandwich that you should avoid is ham and cheese, and also a breakfast sandwich which contains bacon, sausage and an egg.
The way we produce food and what we eat contributes to the loss of natural ecosystems and declining biodiversity.
Returning now to that dire warning about the state of our planet and where it's headed. This one from the United Nations, which found that in order to prevent catastrophic climate change, we need to change the way we use land, particularly when it comes to farming and what we eat. The stakes? More heat waves, droughts, heavy rains, land degradation, and desertification, which in turn puts even more pressure on the land we use. It's a vicious cycle. So a big part of the question of rethinking land use is rethinking the very food we eat. And you can bet Diane Sachs has some thoughts on that. Diane, you were the former environmental commissioner here in Ontario, also the president of a green consultancy firm.
That's right.
Sachs Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Help me understand this rethink around food. I mean, distill that into terms that we can all understand.
What the report shows, first of all, is that the climate crisis is already hurting the nutritional quality and security of food, with much worse ahead. But that we can do really important things about it. We can reduce climate pollution and our ability to survive it with three big things about food: the choice of what we eat, how we grow it, and how much of that we throw away. And there's just no good reason to throw it away.
Right, the food that's being thrown away, that's a big piece of the pie?
It is. And we have lots of opportunities a lot of what we grow just ends up being wasted. And that has a very big water footprint, an energy footprint, a climate footprint. So if we could use better what we grow and not throw it away, then we have an opportunity to help people be better fed and have a lower footprint. Food should be eaten by people. If it can't be eaten by people, it should be eaten by animals. If it can't be eaten by animals, we should be using it to get the resources back. And we have all the technology to do that.
But so you also mentioned the kinds of foods that we decide to eat, right?
Yes.
And much was made in the report about the difference between a meat-based diet and a plant-based diet.
Yes.
And so, I mean, explain that for me. I mean, why there's such a difference there?
Well, meat has, especially beef, has an enormous footprint. A huge amount of resources go into growing food, which is then fed to cattle, which don't convert it to meat very efficiently. It also creates a lot of water pollution and many other problems. So for many people, the quickest change they can make in their diet that will dramatically reduce its carbon and environmental footprint is to eat less beef. It also matters how the cows were grown.
Why didn't the IPCC just come out and say, let's all cut meat out of our diets?
Well, part of it is just the language they write these reports in. These reports have to be agreed to by the governments everywhere in the world, and they never write them in simple, straightforward language. They write them in very formal, very detailed ways. But the bottom line is pretty clear. If you're going to eat animal-based products, they need to be raised very differently from the way we do it now.
In terms of individual impact, I want to show you something. This is actually something that came out of your office earlier this year. And so it was a pie chart showing the average Ontarian's carbon footprint and sort of broken down into the various ways in which we pollute. The first thing that jumps out at me is, I mean, since we're talking about beef, does this look like a small part of the pie to you?
So what we're showing on this pie chart is the top 4 things that between them make up half the carbon footprint of individuals in Ontario. Number 1 is driving. We drive the most inefficient vehicles in the world. Number 2 is heating our homes. We have very leaky homes. Number 3 is flying, and number 4 is beef. And for many people, beef is one of the easiest things to change. But it's significant. It's not as big as driving, but it still has a big footprint.
Should people feel like they have individual agency in all of this and that they have an impact? Because it's hard to measure progress too, right? I mean, if I decide to carpool once a week, I mean, it's hard to understand the impact that that's having in any terms that I really understand.
Every action matters. Every ton matters, but I can promise you every action matters, and it matters a lot of different ways. It matters directly in what you do. It matters in terms of who you influence, your kids see, your friends see, the people you're carpooling with see. It matters in terms of the politicians who have to make the decisions that matter to us. You've got much better chance of influencing your politician if you're already acting on it.
Right.
You have influence on the kinds of services that are provided. When there are lots of people carpooling, well, you need a carpooling parking lot. You talk about carpooling. So we change the society. We're social animals. People want to hear what other people like them are doing. And if you're a leader, other people will notice.
Diane Sachs, fascinating conversation. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now, there have been plenty of studies done about how people can shrink their own carbon footprint. So tonight we thought we'd revisit a story about how you can make greener choices. Here's David Common.
I bet you've questioned how much of a difference these things really make when it comes to reducing your carbon footprint. But what can you do now to actually help? Here's an example you might not have thought of to sink your teeth into. Hungry? Well, whatever you eat has a carbon footprint. You probably heard beef has one of the biggest, though most of us don't have one ingredient meals. Take, for instance, a lunchtime staple, the sandwich. Of course, a UK study actually looked at the carbon footprints of sandwiches, and Adisa Adzapagic is one of the authors. Adisa, what are the sandwiches we should avoid?
Well, the sandwich that you should avoid is ham and cheese, and also a breakfast sandwich, which contains bacon, sausage, and an egg.
Okay, so what if I suddenly went vegan and I took the ham out, I took the cheese out, and then I'm just left with the tomato and the lettuce? Is that okay?
Apart from the taste, that should be okay, but it depends how tomato is grown. So in the UK, for example, most of the tomato is grown in greenhouses, and that requires energy, which means that the carbon footprint of tomato is really high. So just to give you an example, 1 kilogram of tomatoes would have 10 kilograms of CO2 equivalent emitted into the atmosphere. So that is 10 times more than its own weight. But if we imported tomato from Spain, where it's grown in open fields, then the carbon footprint is lower, even when you account for the transportation.
So what can Canadians take away from your study?
We have a choice in terms of the type of food that we eat. So generally less meat. And if you make a sandwich at home, you will normally halve the carbon footprint of your sandwich.
If you do buy, packaging is a consideration, and you never guess what the best one is when it comes to carbon footprints. It's styrofoam of all things. It's lightweight, easy to produce, easy to transport. A University of Manchester study says it has 1.5 times less carbon footprint than aluminum, 3 times less than clear plastic. If you move into something like paper, well, that's okay so long as you actually compost it. Now, these are numbers specific to the United Kingdom, but reusable is always good so long as you reuse it. Don't lose your container. You got to use something like this 18 times to equal the carbon footprint of that styrofoam. If you move on to glass, hey, that's great, but you got to reuse it even more because of how carbon intensive it is to produce something like this. There's one really big way to reduce our own carbon footprint and maybe make a bit of money at the same time, talking about your investments. So one study from CoPower shows the average Canadian portfolio is connected to more carbon emissions than anything else we do in our daily lives, even driving. And so a $10,000 investment, for instance, here at the Toronto Stock Exchange, could be connected to 800 kilograms of CO2 each year. That's the equivalent of driving 3,000 kilometers in a car, tumble drying 332 loads of laundry, or eating 264 quarter-pounder hamburgers. Okay, whoa, let's hit the rewind button. How is it that investing has a carbon footprint? Man with the answers today is Tim Nash, and you are an investment coach, and you're also the founder of Good Investing. So explain this to me. How is it the money that I invest has a carbon footprint?
Right. Well, you invest that money in companies, and those companies emit carbon emissions. So just like you share in their profits, you also share in their carbon footprint.
Okay, I get how you say you're partially responsible, they're emitting, you have a share in that. And as Canadians, we invest trillions of dollars a year. But what about the small guy, the normal guy?
When it comes to regular investors like you and I, right, the first step you're going to want to take is to speak to your financial advisor, whoever you're working with, and ask some tough questions. See whether they have socially responsible investments available.
But am I giving up returns by going with one of those?
Not at all. All the studies have shown that you can do just as well, if not a little bit better, by investing in companies that are reducing their carbon emissions and by getting fossil fuels out of your portfolio, what we call divestment. We've started to see the smart money move in this direction. Canadian Pension Plan, Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, they're all moving in this direction. What I'm worried about is that if you own the companies that have those high carbon emissions, they're not going to be as profitable in the future, and regular investors might end up suffering as the broader economy moves in this direction.
Look where the puck is going, not where it is.
That's it.
So those are just a few things that you can do to reduce your own carbon footprint. They're not necessarily the biggest ones out there, but even the small ones, taken collectively by all of us, can really make a difference. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
He's always so enthusiastic. Just ahead, another take on recycling the nuts and bolts of scrapping an old military ship. And for the Canadian whose job it is, it's like saying goodbye to a friend.
As I walk around here right now, it's heavy hard here because I spend many hours at sea, many hours, maintaining this thing.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast Front Burner, we talk tensions between the United States and China and why some experts are calling this the biggest trade war of all time. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
We have a cautionary tale after a mother in Nova Scotia watched helplessly as her daughter and another young girl drifted out to sea on a float toy. The 5-year-old was playing with a friend on a floating ring and mattress yesterday near a sandbar. The tide was out, but they started drifting from the shore in Malagash, further into the Northumberland Strait. Now, the mom tried to swim to them, but eventually she had to turn back.
You know, they were just floating faster and faster and faster than I could swim and keep up with them.
The girls held hands to stay together, and after drifting for nearly an hour, they were picked up by rescuers. Hundreds of properties in British Columbia are under evacuation alert tonight as a wildfire continues to grow. The fire is burning in the southern Okanagan Valley in BC's interior and is now 15 square kilometers in size. That's nearly double what it was just yesterday. Additional crews and equipment are being brought in to help with the firefighting effort. Residents at more than 250 properties are being told to be ready to leave at a moment's notice. One of Canada's largest retailers is no longer facing a lawsuit over that deadly factory collapse in Bangladesh 6 years ago. The Supreme Court of Canada has refused to hear the appeal from a group of victims and relatives who wanted to sue Loblaw over the tragedy. Two of the companies were under contract to the retailer. More than 1,100 people died when the Rana Plaza fell in 2013. Another 2,500 were injured.
Andrescu has done it. Just the 5th Canadian lady to advance to the quarterfinals of the Rogers Cup.
And we're starting to get used to her winning. Canadian tennis sensation Bianca Andreescu pulled off an upset victory at the Rogers Cup today. She edged out the world number 5, Kiki Bertens of the Netherlands, in a dramatic match interrupted by rain in Toronto today. The 19-year-old will now shift her focus to tomorrow's quarterfinals.
A lot of conversations about recycling focus on the small things, like the everyday items we use at home. So, cans, bottles, paper, that sort of thing. But there's a very particular group of people who've been tasked with thinking much bigger than that, recycling some of the biggest vehicles humankind has ever created. Tonight, we revisit a story about what happens when ships come to the end of their lives. Brett Ruskin has that story.
If Navy ships had nightmares, they might look something like this. The man they'd fear most, Mike Steege.
Now, some people are going to say, oh, you're the Grim Reaper of the Navy right now, getting rid of these vessels.
As the guy in charge of Navy ship dismantling in Canada, he pretty much kills ships for a living.
Watch your head.
His latest victim, the former HMCS Athabascan. Guts cut up, hull full of holes. Brass, copper, and steel to be melted down and sold. Looks harsh, but once it was worse. Here's how the Navy used to get rid of its old ships. The Annapolis and Saguenay were both turned into artificial reefs. And the Huron? It was used for target practice.
We actually looked at it and see how much it would actually take to sink one of these things.
Dramatic, yes, but also problematic. Those ships used to be full of the cancer-causing chemicals PCBs. They were used for cable coatings, adhesives, and waterproofing, all before their risk was fully understood. So before sinking or shooting the ships, the government had to strip out the PCBs.
If we know we have PCBs and hazardous materials on board, we do not transborder them. We keep them in Canada.
Making the ships environmentally safe was expensive. Now they outsource the disposal work to companies like this one in Sydney, Cape Breton. It safely strips out the PCBs and keeps the scrap metal for its profit.
When the dismantling of this ship is complete, the hull will be cut into 15-meter sections, and the important military equipment and technology will be cut into pieces as small as 15 centimeters.
When they're done, the insides will look like this. The outside, like this. For now, the ship still looks like a ship.
You'll see your rail system where the torpedoes used to go in here.
Turns out the ship shredder has a soft spot because he spent time in the Navy himself, working to maintain the ships, including this ship, the Athabascan.
As I walk around here right now, it's heavy hard here because I spent many hours at sea, and many hours, maintaining this thing.
Now he's working to create jobs, save money, and protect the environment. But he knows an overhaul is coming in the way Canada gets rid of its ships. Because the new ships being built right now in Halifax don't use PCBs. Disposal is part of the design.
It's part of the kind of circle of life, if you will, for navies. There are a few things that nations buy that are so important that they actually need, and ships are one of those.
As we go forward into future dismantling and how we get rid of our fleets after that, we should be able to now, on behalf of Canada, actually make money back and actually sell some of these ships now.
When future vessels have finished their time in Canada, they could be sold internationally, sent to the auction block, but saved from the chopping block. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Just ahead, Ticket to Nowhere. The moment is coming up.
Her party was yesterday. Her birthday was yesterday.
Yeah.
So that food is going to go waste if we don't get out.
At a Labrador airport, they're fogged in and out of luck. But first, in case you missed it, it was 50 years ago today. One of music's most iconic photos, the cover for Abbey Road, was taken August 8, 1969. The London Crosswalk has become a pilgrimage for Beatles fans from around the world. Even prime ministers have stopped for a photo op. And thousands gathered at the landmark for today's anniversary, including some Canadians.
It was at the 50th anniversary of them landing in the United States, which to me was a very big moment.
Apparently, there was no high concept behind the cover. They simply needed a picture for an album. The shoot was tense, we're told, and patience wearing thin. Whether it was out of frustration or a stroke of artistic brilliance, John, Paul, George, and Ringo walked out of the studio, crossed the street, and the photographer began to snap. He took just 6 pictures. Number 5 is on the cover. Abbey Road is the only Beatles record that doesn't bear the name of the band or the album. The soon-to-be world-famous crosswalk has been given protected status by the British government. No one is getting out of Nain. At least no one has flown out in the past 8 days. The small city along the north coast of Labrador has been covered in a thick, dense layer of fog, preventing all flights from coming or going. Many passengers are settling in and camping out, stranded in the airport for days, waiting, hoping for a change, for a flight. The travelers trying to get out of Nain, well, that's our moment.
We're just trying to get home now.
I came in here on Sunday.
We got a birthday girl that's waiting for the food for her party. That's a birthday cake and a tray of fruits. Her party was yesterday. Her birthday was yesterday.
Yeah.
So that food is going to go waste if we don't get out. It's really different this year. It's more fog and rain on the coast. You miss flights, you miss appointments, medical appointments outside.
And hopefully we're going to get out of here tomorrow. It don't look like there's anything going today, so it'll give me 6 days here.
You got to have a lot of patience. You got to have a good attitude, and a good company.
Boy, Andrew, you have to have a good attitude when you're in remote places and you're at the mercy of the weather like that. When we talked about this earlier in the day in the newsroom, we kind of, here are some people at the airport, they have a birthday cake and, maybe they can't get to the birthday party in time. But the more you look into this, the more you realize there's very little lighthearted about this. Water is out for a lot of people in the town because the water got so high. They were concerned about what might happen with one of their hydro poles. This is Maybe it's not an emergency, but it sure is a hardship.
Yeah, and apparently, I mean, communication has been affected as well. You can't make long-distance phone calls out of this place. Internet service is down as well, and it's raising questions about the airport infrastructure too, right? Like whether they're capable of dealing with a situation as deceptively simple as fog. But this is a remote place, right? They don't necessarily have access to the kinds of technologies that we see today, guidance systems, light systems as well to guide planes. So tough situation all around. That's The National for this Thursday, August 8th. Have a good night.
Good night.